I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I think that the opportunity to articulate who you are and what your value proposition is very compelling. Now, that may just mean for many recruiters being able to see the companies that you worked at historically. And again, maybe just to take a step back, it might be helpful for me to demystify the search process. That'd be helpful just to spend a couple minutes. So, so when we're asked or retained to recruit a board member, we start with the definition of what we're looking for, position spec, much as you would for an executive role. And we define what are the skill sets that the board is looking for in this person. And typically, it's the skill sets that are missing on the board in light of what the company's strategy is and the fact that the people who are on the board today may not have the set of skills that are needed for the company to be successful in the future. And it may include digital, marketing, consumer knowledge, international, different depending on the company. And when we then start to build a list, it's really not scientific. We identify companies where people who've been the former CEO or marketing officer, let's say, or sometimes currently sitting at those companies if they're not competitive but happen to be in a space that's relevant. And we make a list of companies and then people at those companies that we think would fit the specification. That list may have 100 people on it, may have 200 people on it. Maybe it has 80, but it's a big number. And we have research teams, and that's what they do. And they may use LinkedIn to find those people. We have a database that has millions of people in it, but it doesn't have 225 million, which is what LinkedIn now has. So, you have to avail yourself of those resources, and the more you populate them, the more we have access to more people. But essentially, that list gets to be something, let's call it around 100. And the search team then goes through that list very carefully. Many people on it, Korn Ferry's a big place. Other people have met them. We may have placed them into an executive job before. We may have spoken to them as a reference on a search. We may have talked to them and they've given us ideas. But somehow we may have additional information on them that will help us say yes or no, keep them on, take them off. We get that list down to 25. That's what we would call the long list. Okay, that list of 100 is like, the target universe. But that's where it started. And we narrow it down, let's say we get it to 24 for a single search. Sometimes it's 30. We share that list with our client, typically the search committee, which is either the entire nominating and governance committee of the board plus the CEO, sometimes a subset of it, and go through that list of 25 profiles with the board search committee. They will then narrow it down to something smaller. We call that a short list. That short list may initially be about 10 or 12. As we get more information, and information like someone on the board knows someone that knows that person, that makes them either stay on the list or fall off the list, depending on what the information is. The company's doing a deal with the company that the person works at. Oh, got to take them off, there'd be a conflict. But the list of, let's say, 12 people that we really dig deep on becomes 3 to 5. That's the real kind of shortlisted candidates. Those candidates typically interview. We certainly would meet all of those people in person. They then would interview with the search committee, and then the search committee would select one. So today, most boards are meeting, I'd say at least 3 candidates, but probably not much more than 5 per board search, which, by the way, is up from what it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, you went in order. And the person who was at the top of the list was met. And if you liked them, you stopped, right? But as the world has changed and people are much more narrowly focused about what they're looking for, people are open to seeing more people. And the world out there recognizes that just because they've been interviewed for a board search doesn't necessarily mean they got it. So anyway, after it's narrowed down to, let's say, 3 people that are met, we will conduct references, and then typically one person gets a seat.